More doors, I see.
Well, because when we stopped to collect a grandchild in the middle of Liverpool, I suddenly saw the beautiful purple door, different coloured doors that people had taken great care of.
As you didn't actually have time to sit and sketch the doors, you took some photographs.
To print it up to a size of A4, which I decided was the right, it's the size I've been using for the other doors, and it seems about right.
Flowers as a complement to your door pictures.
Well, my logic is that I only usually do a single colour lino, so if I'm going to accentuate the purple door, and the gardens had lovely foliage and plants in front, I was looking for a similarly purple, well-shaped flower that I could use. At the moment, the actual doors, we've got a deep blue and a lovely deep red. So I've been in the garden looking for flowers that would fit the bill, as it were. I've got a peony here that might do for the deep red one. And we've got a hydrangea that I think could be for the blue. And there's an extra iris, just for luck. Yes, and I've done it with a little colour swatch by the side. Gone over it in ink again, so that it's a nice clear image for tracing on ready for the lino. Here are the tracings of the same flowers that are in the book, because it's best to do a whole process at once, and I got them ready then.
Have you done the tracing in ink or in pencil?
Ink, because we're going to have to rub pencil over the back to transfer it. It needs to be quite clear. Oh, well, normally I would have had to copy the door onto the paper, but I realised that I had it exactly the size that I needed, so I've just done it by tracing off the photograph, which seems to work. I've made sure the flowers are going to be the right size to fit onto here, so now I've put it on the top to make sure that it's right, and we're going to transfer it to the piece of lino. This is a piece of soft cut lino which I'm using on the smooth side, and it's much easier to handle, although it doesn't have a backing, so in that sense you have to hold it rigid onto a board, but it's soft all the time, unlike traditional lino, which has to be warmed as you're working along. We've discovered that it doesn't always transfer very well until you've roughed it, a cloth that you'd use for the bathroom or something, because there's a slightly waxy surface on there, so if you just rub that off, then it'll hold the ink better.
Some people have suggested you wash it with a detergent.
Well, I've never needed to do that, but you can see a little bit of the stuff comes onto there. That's as much as you need. The flowers are in the right position. I'm going to put a little mark here and there so that I can put it back in the same place afterwards when I've reversed it. It has to be transferred to the lino inside out because it's a reverse printing method, that it'll go on the lino like that. Then we're going to draw it like this. Now I've got a piece of carbon paper underneath the tracing onto the lino, and I'm just going to finish off doing the drawing, which if you can see, with a sharp pencil on top of the tracing, and then we'll end up, you'll see, with a blue line where I can start cutting. Yeah, try and keep on the same outlines as far as we can. And don't forget the little line at the bottom. You do have to remember where you've gone, because it's not so easy to see where the pencil lines are. But I'll show you in a minute how it comes through in blue onto. There we are. So, and I got the tracing of the flowers on there as well separately. So that's ready for me to work out how to cut it. That's my lino cutting tools, and they're quite expensive to get good tools, so that's why I take care of them. And we're going to use probably 3 sizes for this. Yeah. They're either V-cut or horseshoe shaped at the end. I'll go back a stage and just to show you how I put a plain piece of carbon paper on top of the plain lino, and then we have to make a sandwich with the tracing that I've reversed and stick it down so that it can't move, and then with the sharp pencil, as you saw, I'm going to go around all the lines. And go over it so that this makes sure that everybody knows it's my work and they can't take copies unless I say so. I've nearly finished cutting this with the 2 tools that I'm using, which is the smaller ones, but I could just show you. I'm cutting away all the parts that want to stay white, which is up here mainly, and round the edges of these, and anything that has not been cut away will take the colour, whatever colour I decide to put of printing ink. I cut all the ones in the same direction first because that's easier. But then where I've cut this is going to be, obviously it'll be white in between. I've made a piece of board to put where I'm going to put the lino when I've inked it up will fit onto there, and the piece of paper that's been cut to size is going to go there. So now I need to take this away because it needs ink on it, and then we'll place this with a little piece of tape so that it doesn't go in the wrong place. Okay, so that goes on there, just to secure it. The soluble ink that at the moment I prefer that because it's so much easier to clean up, and it seems to me to get as good an effect as the oil soluble, which have to be cleaned up with turpentine and that sort of thing. It's a bit less healthy as well. There. I'm mixing this to try and get some kind of purple, which is what I will eventually use. But this is only a test piece because I don't know until we've taken a test print whether I've cut away enough.
Why are you banging it?
What?
Lifting it off up and down.
Well, we need to have ink all over the roller. You can see some part there where it hasn't got any ink on it yet. Alright. I'm rolling this so that it's nice and even before I put it onto the lino. And you'll see that I've got lots of newspaper on the table because the ink might spread. I hope not, but it will when I'm rolling it. I'm going to roll onto the lino now. Okay. Too thick because it'll fill in the spaces that I've cut away if it's too thick. So there are no lines across it. But this is just the test piece anyway, so and that goes that way up always. You can see that when I just went to get this piece of wood that I've got all my tools conveniently there because we don't want to be hunting around for something at this point. Right, now this is going to be the exciting bit. It's stuck, right. This that I'm using is just a modelling tool really, but it seems to me to do a good job with hand printing the lino.
You could use the back of a spoon or something.
I could use the back of a spoon. Yes, I saw a film of somebody hand printing when we went to the Royal Academy, and a wooden spoon was what lots of us use, and this artist was in fact using a wooden spoon. You could do it in the printing press, but I think you have better control over it by doing it like this. But it needs to be a flat edge. If you have something sharp, you're going to get a line that you don't want poking into the paper.
So a serving spoon better than a standard soup spoon?
Yes, a big fruit serving spoon was quite good, which we've got when I'm doing it with children. We've got that, and it's reasonably foolproof. But the other thing is to go on with this long enough. You could see the design coming through, but you do still need to rub it quite a lot. There's my signature down the corner. And another thing that I emphasise if I'm teaching somebody is all these edges and corners, because there's nothing worse than having a little piece of that missing. It doesn't look good. Go over that again, make sure the pillars are all done, and the front door itself, which is really the important thing. And in a minute we can lift it off and see what. So I'll take these pieces of tape off first, and then lift it up and well away from the cut lino, because there we are. So that's just the test print. If I think I'm going to alter anything, I can take it and cut a bit more. See it? That one is a Chinese paper, which I don't know whether I've got. A lot of printmakers use Chinese paper that you buy in rolls, and so you can just cut it to your right size.
What's the advantage of that paper?
Well, it's reasonably thin. I think if you use too thick a paper, the print just doesn't take. You have to experiment. You can buy a packet of different sample ones.
This is thin and it doesn't tear.
Yes. This paper is, I think it's called White Moon. It's another Chinese one. And we're just seeing whether it takes a better print or not. So I need to put some more ink on now because we just transferred it onto the paper. Always go in both directions to make sure it's properly covered. I think that's quite nice actually, as it is. Make sure I don't have corners. If you can see any patchy bits that aren't covered, get the job done. Put that there. Okay. Now I'm going to move it. There. That's going to be all done probably. Matching it up to the piece that I drew. This is why we need tissues there all the time. It's not really a big enough piece of paper, but that's not the concern at the moment. I always have these weights here because sometimes you need to hold the paper down like that.
Once it's touched the...
Once it's touched
the liner, you
onto
can't
the
move
liner,
it.
no, you mustn't. It mustn't be moved again, obviously, or you'll have a double image. It might show up better on this white paper, but that's why we're trying it.